Hey guys, welcome to the Hustle Faithfully podcast where determination meets devotion.
Join us on all streaming platforms. You can find the links at bit.ly/podcast-links. As we continue our series of Burnout to Breakthrough, we have brought some incredible guests on here to let you hear their stories. Today is definitely not an exception. We have James Dentley on with us, and this man is absolutely incredible. You're going to want to make sure to record every bit of this so you can go back and listen again and again.
Right.
Dr. James Dentley is the founder of JD3 TV and was knighted on February the 27th of 2022 into the Royal Order of the Constantine the Great and St. Helen. Dr. Dentley is an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, philanthropist, and one of the nation's top life and business strategists. As one of the world's most renowned motivational speakers, Dr. Dentley is a dynamic personality with a highly sought-after resource in business and professional circles for Fortune 500 CEOs, for small business owners, nonprofit, and community leaders from all sectors of society looking to expand opportunity. Dr. Dentley, it is an absolute joy and pleasure to have you on the Hustle Faithfully podcast with us this morning.
Well, first of all, honored to be here, man. Ricardo's got that voice in there, man.
Oh, man. I appreciate that. Coming from you. Thank you.
Well, Jonathan, you've been a great friend for a long, long time, man. So I do really appreciate you. And thank you for having me and sharing me with your audience, man. I'm always humbled and excited to get a chance to share. And even though I've been doing it for 30 years.
It's always a joy hearing you. I know, guys, every time I hear Dr. Dentley and he takes the stage, my cell phone comes out and I hit that record button every time. It'll be the same for you. Get ready for a power-packed podcast episode. Dr. Dentley, can you give us some examples of times in your life when you have felt a perceived burnout and what you did to push through in order to achieve the extreme success that you live in day to day today?
Wow. Okay. Absolutely, sir, because I always tell people the life worth living is worth recording. And I inspire people to create their mini documentary of their life. You know, my documentary featured in 3 theaters here in Chicago about 2 or 3 years ago. And we filled them up. But the most important thing was that people were so impacted because they were able to see their story and mine, as many people were part of my life that I personally knew. So I'm a fan of everyone creating a documentary, even if they just go on Zoom and have a conversation, because that's part of the legacy. So our children and their children will know where they come from, because we may not live long enough to know our great-great-great-grandchildren, but they should know us. Yeah. Amen. So I'm going to start with sharing with you a little bit of my story, if that's okay. Is that all right, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Very, very good. You know, I'll start here since I have a little time. I'm born and raised in Chicago. My mother raised myself and my 3 sisters, and she worked in a grocery store in the day and a dentist's office at night. And my first memory, my mom and dad were still married, 3, 4, 5 years old. I do have memories there. Giant airplane. And I remember I was in kindergarten one day, and it's so interesting because I still remember the song for the kindergarten, even though I was there half of it. Still know the song. And everything in the kindergarten was in color. The kids, the lunch, the cafeteria, everything's in color. One day I come out of school and a family friend calls my voice. And if the voice was very familiar, the face was familiar. So I ran towards this gentleman. His name was Marcus Nelson. And Marcus was sent to pick me up. And I get to this car, and my sister's in the back seat. And I get in the car, and he took us to our new residence. My mother and father were divorcing, and now we're living in an apartment. And it was kind of shocking. I'm telling you the interesting thing about it, that entire memory outside of that school is in black and white. Everything up before that in the cafeteria, when you're running around as a kid, is in color. But that memory is in black and white. And I knew at that point that there was something different that was happening.
Yeah.
I had a lot of resentment towards my dad because I felt like he didn't love me. I'm named after him. I'm James Dentley III. And it wasn't true. It's just that they couldn't get along anymore, but they remained friends forever. But I carried a lot of resentment for a long time, and until I broke through that. Now, as I grew up, I was the boy. I'm the man of the house, the little man of the house. I
Mhm.
believe children are adults; they just don't know how to do it yet. So they're little people that just don't know how to do it yet.
Right.
So I take out the garbage, but I always found ways to create money because we didn't have a lot. I always found ways to shovel snow, rake leaves, carry groceries, whatever I could do to
Mhm.
create money. And I found out very early that I was an entrepreneur because I would take my mother's Kool-Aid and get those little Dixie cups from her bathroom, a little medicine cup, and freeze it,
Oh yeah.
flip it over and sell it for 2 cents or a dime based on the cup. And I
Yeah.
had a great thriving business in the summertime until we ran out of sugar for Kool-Aid.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about inventory or all that.
Right.
I mean, I just know we got sugar. Okay, I'm making some money.
Right.
And, but I've worked pretty much all my life. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy making money. I enjoyed giving my mom money, my sister's money, and I could get the things that I wanted. But I developed a work ethic at that particular time. I
Mhm.
also was embedded in the church. At 8 years old, I memorized all the books of the Bible. I still know them to this day.
Mm.
It never left me. And I always tell people that when times get tough, because life will do that, and it's important that it does, that
Right.
you don't hit rock bottom, you hit rock foundation.
Mm.
So the foundation of my life has always been spiritual. So when tough times happen, that
Mm.
was the foundational part that would give me the platform to stand once again.
Mhm.
So, as I grew up, I remember I got involved in martial arts. About 1972, martial artist, and I was in great shape, man. I studied for 13 years. I taught for 3, and I contracted a blood infection through some chemicals that someone put in my head, trying to make my hair straight, like the 5 heartbeats, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the chemicals got my scalp, and I had a blood infection, and my skin broke out. But I was in great shape, man. I'm lean body muscle. I'm 13 years in the martial arts. I mean, I'm just gone in that arena. And I was in pain every single day.
Mm.
Every day for a year, I was in pain. I couldn't get rid of the pain. The only way the pain would stop if I was moving around a lot.
Right.
Now, but you can't move around 24 hours a day.
Right.
I pained myself to sleep at night. Now,
Mm.
in the middle of that, I had also had a job while I was in high school with Church's Fried Chicken. At 17, by the time I was 18, they made me the youngest general manager in the country. And
Mm.
I was not even out of high school and had my own restaurant.
Wow.
And everybody in there was older than I was. So I'm in pain. I'm going to work every day. And man, it was just unbearable. And my skin would break out. And I went to 5 hospitals, and they never focused on my pain. They focused on my face. Why is your
Yeah.
face breaking out like this? It's not right. And finally, after 5 hospitals, my mother took me to one hospital in Chicago, and they were able to help me. But in the middle
Mhm.
of that, honestly, I wanted to die.
Wow.
I didn't know how to get rid of the pain. It just never ever went away. It's just consistently back pains, just boom, 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 boom. And I'm in my early 20s. I also was a dancer, danced on Soul Train, Midnight Special. I mean, I could do a lot. I was very active, very limber, very nimble, very lean. And now I'm in pain, and I can't even get up and go from 10 steps from a chair.
Wow.
And I wanted to kill myself. Now, I wasn't going to uh, do it with a gun or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I decided I'd do it with drugs. So I went that route, and I knew better, but I didn't care because I just wanted the pain to go away. I didn't want to feel anymore. I wanted to feel something different.
Right.
Drugs and alcohol was my vice. And I went through that, and then finally went to a hospital and they were able to solve it, and then I was able to move away from all of that, and then life got good. I
Mhm.
went to Texas, and I got with another company called Steak and Ale, steak, lobster, prime rib. I mean, I had the dating thing worked out. I had a T-shirt that said "Marry me and eat for free" because I give a girl free lobster, champagne, candles on the table. Everybody worked for me.
Wow.
50 employees. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Wow.
Life was really good. I learned a lot as I lived in Dallas, Houston, but then Midland, Odessa, and Abilene. And I learned a lot about people and a lot about myself. I remember being in Dallas and I had to get to work. And at one point, I didn't have a car that ran. So I had to cross the street and there was a Ku Klux Klan rally. And I had to cross the street. So I had to cross the street and I remember how polite they were.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I understood what that meant,
Mm-hmm.
my experience was with a person.
Mhm.
Because under the robe, under the mask, even the mask that all of us wear,
Yeah.
there's a real person that's
right.
trying to find out who they are and who they're supposed to be, baked
Yeah.
into a paradigm of what they've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
what their environment has told them was their truth, and they're standing in it. But I realized very early, especially having 150 employees, and I was the only one that looked like me, that everybody kind of wanted the same thing. Now, I never excuse behavior. I never excuse the rhetoric that's negative. No.
Mm-hmm.
But I always chose how I would respond to it.
Mhm.
I was able to do that. Now, I didn't understand that I had gifts at that time. That's just who I was,
Right.
who I was. Because if I was going to be effective in that environment, I had to find a way to communicate. I had to find a way to create inclusion, to get people to buy in. And the best way to do that was to let them tell me and give them ownership with my guidance and empower them and edify them and lift them up. And that's when I learned that the greatest human need was significance. Now, you want to talk about burnout. So through the years, I did very well in the restaurant business. I left that, came back to Chicago, left Texas, and opened up several businesses. And I was thriving. The thing was going on. Real estate, contracting businesses, nightclubs, restaurant, beauty salons, the whole 9 yards. And but I was so unhappy because the business owned me. I'm working 80 hours a week. And I was miserable. I'm trying to live the American dream and I'm hitting a brick wall.
Right.
So frustrated. It was so hurt because I would have times where I would have to make a decision. Do I pay the employees or do I pay my mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
And to go home with that fear and that anxiety, hiding it, that, I've got a challenge here. I got to figure it out. And suddenly I just didn't care again. And in the nightclub business, what did I do? Started to drink again.
Right.
Get rid of the pain. Get rid of the pain. And finally that marriage ended and I moved to, we had a beautiful daughter. I had an opportunity to move to Atlanta to start over again, to get a clean slate. Okay, so I get away from all the demons, not realizing I was taking me with me.
Right.
And I ended up going back to work in the restaurant industry, to being an entrepreneur, sold everything I had, and made sure my family was okay. And that did most importantly because my daughter's there and my bonus son was there. So I made sure everybody's okay because my philosophy was as long as I have underwear, I can go out there and make it happen. This don't take my underwear. My mother told me to go out of the house without my underwear.
Right.
So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and somebody tricks me into getting into network marketing. And that's the last thing I wanted to do. But I did it just in case it worked. I couldn't afford to do it. I didn't know anybody in the city, never done anything like that before. But you can learn anything. So I did it. And that was May 26th of 1994. In the midst of building out everything, I met a gentleman named Michael Cooper. He's 4 years younger than me. He was 27. I was 31. He was one of the founders of the company. And he told his story about he and his twin brother, who was also a co-founder, how they were homeless at 24 and millionaires at 28. They were brilliant people, smarter than anybody. They understood human behavior more than anybody I'd ever met in my life. They were kind. They were inspiring. And they taught us to think differently. They took 16 of us that they selected. And they put us in a room. They said, you will be the most successful people in this company. Now, at that time, nobody had a lot of success in the company, but we didn't know it. But he said, before we would teach you how to make money, we'll teach you who you have to become. But you'd have to learn how to overcome challenges. Now, he said that 3 months later, I was homeless.
Wow.
3 months later, I'm homeless. Now, I did not call home because I knew my mother would save me or my sisters or maybe my friends. I wouldn't call home. I realized at that point I had to take responsibility for my life, that I needed to grow up because my mother always bailed me out.
Right.
If something didn't work, somebody bailed me out. I need to grow up. But he taught me that I would have to become something new to create something. So here I am, homeless in a car. And, the good news is that it's a Porsche. The bad news is a Porsche is small. And then to make it worse, I'm in Atlanta. The first time in Atlanta, it got cold one night, and the radiator burst
Oh no.
the next day. So I had to pawn the title for the Porsche right before it smoked. And I pawned the title. I put it in the shop, and a friend of mine sent me an '89 Buick Century. Did it from front to back, windshield cracked from top to bottom.
Mm.
No ignition. There was a hole there in the ignition. I would take wire pliers and start it. So I had to put a towel over. When you look
Wow.
at the window, you can see there's no ignition here. And then I locked my keys in the car, and I had to punch a hole in the lock. So I put my finger in the hole, open the door, get the wire pliers, pull the towel back, start it up, and I was coming to your house to do a presentation, to tell your friends to follow us, and we're going to be rich.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
The anxiety of hiding your car 2 blocks away. Then I became homeless, and every day I would sell my friends hair magazines just to
Mhm.
make $30 to get a hotel room for the night. This is 1994. Every night, the anxiety of that. But I never lost the vision, and I knew as I pulled my car into a Holiday Inn and
Mm.
pulled a comforter over my head, I smiled because I knew I was going to be wealthy at that moment.
Wow. Dr. Dentley.
Yeah.
What allowed you, what vision did you have? That was something deep inside you that you had dangling in front of you that allowed you to push through every single challenge that you ran into and
Mhm.
stay the course when you had every reasonable opportunity to choose otherwise. What was that vision that you had in front of you?
I've always been weird. No, you know, I with a mentor. They say in the prosperous times you pull it out the pocket, in the lean times you have to pull it out the heart.
Oh man.
When things are great, you party. When things suck, you ponder. You
Wow.
begin to seek an answer, to seek a solution, or to seek a meaning in things. Michael Kupis, I never had a mentor before, and he became that first mentor. And we're
Mhm.
great friends today. I was with that company. They were doing 9 million a year when I started, 800 million when I left it. Um, I was able to financially retire after starting with them in May of '94 and being homeless for 4 months. I was able to financially retire by 1996. The main thing is that I didn't know how to give up. And if you ever remember the movie Officer and a Gentleman, when
Yep.
Richard Gere is laying there and he says, "You need to get out," and he says, "I have no place else to go."
Right.
I had no
Right.
place to go because I
Mm.
refused to settle. I knew there had to be more. You see, and I'll tell you what it was for me. When I was a kid, even though my mom didn't have money, she was to take myself and my sisters all holding hands, and she'd take us window shopping downtown.
Mhm.
And at Christmas time, they have all these big stores, Macy's and Carson's, and all these big windows, and they had all those magical Christmas robotic things just going around. So my light and the lights, and as a kid, it's just a wonder. She took us to see Peter Pan the play, and I remember the song that they sung in that play. I was a little bitty boy, and I never forgot that song. And I knew I wanted to be like Peter Pan. Now, I didn't know Peter Pan was really a girl in the play, but I didn't know it's okay. It's just this kid
Right.
flying around. This is a boy that probably would know. And I always had that life like a Peter Pan. I was a dreamer.
Mhm.
I made so many mistakes, and I did foolish things because I was just a dreamer. You know
Right.
what is possible, man? What is possible? Push it. My friend and I would scale a building from the outside 3 stories, and I was like 7. My mother said, and not realizing that one fall, my life changes.
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
thinking about it. And we scaled these buildings. There was a show called Rescue 8 Before Your Time. And Jim and Skip were the lead characters. Well, my name was Jimmy and his name was Skip. So we lived at Jim and Skip. So I always put myself into fantasy, and fantasy helps you to create a new reality for yourself. Even if you're lonely, if you're embarrassed, if you're ashamed, if you're afraid, you
Mhm.
create a new reality for yourself. And I've always been able to do it. Now, I never knew, Ricardo, that this was a gift.
Right.
I never knew
Right.
my memory to retain information, numbers, and facts. I never knew it was a gift. I never knew when I managed restaurants, I took 14 people from my high school and got them into management. And I didn't know it was a gift. I just knew it was fun because winning is more fun than fun is fun.
Right. Right. Ain't that the truth?
We ain't even more fun than fun. Anybody can run around. We like to win.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Because winners get to talk smack, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's just a few of that. I haven't even touched on the major adversities, man, because but these things prepare you and it builds a muscle and it builds a story. So for anyone who's listening, when you go through tough times, those tough times will make strong people. Strong people make easy times. Easy times make weak people, and weak people make tough times. Those
Mm.
tough times give you a story and prepare you to be able to serve at a higher level when
Mm,
it's your time.
mm,
Mm.
So I asked God to make it easier. He gave me more difficulties so I can learn how to navigate seamlessly.
mm.
I
Wow.
asked him to give me
Wow.
more strength. He gave me more weight to carry to build up
Mm.
my muscle. See, unbeknownst to me, you see, these things were working for my good. I
Yes.
had no
Yes.
choice. I was just there. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Dentley, is you talked about God just now, and that's my foundation, my faith.
Yeah.
Is your faith the foundation, that cornerstone, that rock that you stand on, so that in the face of things that may be factual and in the moment true, you always got something that's truth, that everything that's true and factual will be filtered through, that allows your faith to move you forward
Yeah.
rather than the fear of failure to stop you?
Yeah. Well, again, you hit rock foundation, not rock bottom. So there's a
Mm.
foundation there. You hit that foundation. Now, what are you going to do
Mhm.
with it when you get there? You can run from it, deny it. I wrote my first program book called
Mhm.
MAP in 1999, Millionaire Aptitude Programming. And part of that was overcoming self defeating behaviors, resentments, and how they affect your life and hold you back. When you have a feeling of a lack of control, love, or worthiness,
Mhm.
we spin, things go wrong, and then we go wrong with it. But at the
Right.
same time, Ricardo, I began to become a student, and to this day, I'm always a seeker. Now, I'm a
Mhm.
Christian faith, I have a doctorate degree in divinity. However,
Mhm.
I also realized when I went to England for the first time in 1998 and building teams there, and I had teams in the Muslim faith, and I was speaking their mosques, and I didn't even know. I was so unaware that they studied the Bible.
Right.
They
Right.
knew more about Jesus than any Christian I'd ever met. I'm talking about the common person there because they knew more than I did, and I read, but they owned it. And then I
Right.
realized as I would travel the world, Ricardo, that if I was born in India, that there's a 70% chance I'd be Hindu or
Mhm.
Muslim. Okay.
Mhm.
So what you live, you learn. What you learn, you practice, and what you practice, you become. I learned that a little bit more about Scientology from my interactions with people. I'm very curious
Mhm.
because I don't judge a person, but I know that who's right because honestly, we don't know, and that's where faith kicks in.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I came and told you, you ever seen God? You see him all the time. No, he's not. Now you do, but you're saying something because it's cute to say
Right.
with the ownership of understanding what that means. So I began to seek, sir, and I'll tell you, I've been through. I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis of the
Mhm.
lungs. I never smoked. My lungs were excessively scarred. They put me on a drug called prednisone, and I went from an athlete to 374 pounds on steroids
Wow.
on a prednisone or prescription drugs. And
Mhm.
I thought that would kill me. My knees hurt, my back hurt, my hip hurt, everything. And I didn't know that those drugs can make your bones kind of brittle and less
Right.
silent. And then I went to holistic eating. I went back to my spiritual foundation to see
Mhm.
what the Bible said about eating healthy,
Right.
about things that grew out of the ground. So I went away to a place called Bella Vita in Sacramento, California, just outside of Sacramento. I
Mhm.
stayed there for 10 days. Again, I'm always the only black guy in the camp everywhere I go. And I'll always be on break. I know. Now, full disclosure, I never went to college a day of my life. Never
Yeah.
went. I thought I had a B on my report card once in my life, but it was really two D's real close together. That's my story as well.
Oh.
I married a double scientist who talks in her sleep, so I'm brilliant.
Mhm. Right.
So anyway,
Right.
she's a physicist. She works for nuclear power plants, but she's retired at 36. She retired. She's 43 now. So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
yeah, man, she's awesome. Like every day awesome. So as I was going through my journey with health, I got into a natural way of eating and reconnecting with my foundation of God, anchoring in it. Okay, because now I'm studying in a different way. I'm learning some different things of how to nourish your body, your spiritual mind in different ways. And
Mhm.
I lost 125 pounds. I'm feeling fantastic. The suits fit
Wow.
again. Thank goodness I didn't throw them out because they all had my name in them.
Right.
And I go to the doctor. They say you have cancer.
Mm.
So I had
Mm.
prostate cancer, man. And prostate cancer, when you're a 6, you're high. I was a
Right.
62.
Wow.
And
Mm.
my good friend, Les Brown's been a brother to me. We've been brothers for 28 years, 29 years. And he told me 20 something years ago, and I missed 1 year getting an examination,
Mm.
and it soared. And they said it's so high, it had to escape that area
Wow.
and be in a lymph nodes. They said, look, we think we want to do surgery, which means, okay, but surgery, part of your life stops. Or you can do chemotherapy, but I only believe in chemotherapy if it's the end of life and you want to just relieve the pain and that's it.
Right.
I don't believe
Right.
in killing a part to save a part because I believe everything works in harmony on a cellular level and they got to talk. And if
Yes.
you take out part of your relatives out that they used to talk to each other, and everybody else is lost.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's not a good look, right? So, but they offered, but then radiation, they said it probably won't work. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'm into this natural kick. I've been studying natural remedies. I want to try, I'll do half the radiation and I'll do um, things from the earth. And
Mhm.
I am been cancer free for 6 years. And
Praise the Lord.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was able to share what I did with other people, and they either got their quality of life back or it kind of in a remission. I don't get medical claims; I just have testimonial.
Right.
And I,
Right.
I shared it, and but it makes your bones brittle. So then I started having hip problems, and I
Mhm.
thought it was sciatica. I would go to seminars and speak, and I'd be laying behind the floor behind banners in a $2,000 suit. However, when I got on stage, there was no pain. No
Wow.
pain whatsoever. So, because I understood how when you channel, when you get that adrenaline rush, you just go do what you do. You're outside of yourself.
Yeah.
So I had to get a hip replacement during COVID.
Mhm.
Now, meanwhile, I didn't work the entire year. I had retired January 13th of 95 because of network marketing. I'd opened up several other companies and businesses. So during COVID, I ended up making over almost $4 million, and I never got off the couch.
Mm.
And
Nice.
Mm.
everybody else was hurting. And I said, then I began to understand the blessing of what I had done to prepare myself for times that we did not expect.
Right. Right.
And I've always had a do it now type of attitude, not knowing because I had made money before and lost it twice. So this time I committed I wouldn't do it. So then I had the hip replacement in 2020. Uh, did a lot of cool things. I made a decision to buy my daughter a house cash so she doesn't have to get it when I'm dead.
Right.
I should
Right.
be too deep in the hole by then because I plan on living a long time.
Yeah. Say that.
I don't want her to be broke until for the next 3 years. I bought a house cash and got a brand new car cash, and she started a business and she's thriving.
Mm. That's
My
good.
son, he's thriving as an entrepreneur. I was able to put things in place for him and my grandchildren as well. And then I had to have a knee replacement
Mm.
uh, last year because I was overcompensating.
Right.
So the last 6 months are probably the first time in since 2018 I didn't have pain.
Mm.
But I never complain. I never stop. I never keep going because I understand how these things work. And I understand that if I'm alive today, I want to live my life because life is meant to be experienced. So
Yes.
when you go through the burnout, guys, and even, man, I didn't mention one part that at one point in my life, I got off a stage in front of 10,000 people, got 4 standing ovations, and went into depression.
Mm.
Right back in depression. I went right back to the two things, the two times, every time something happens, we tend to do the same things to compensate. Okay. And I
Mhm.
called my mother and my family together, man, and I called my own intervention. Nobody had to call me. I knew because I'm helping everybody else, but I couldn't help me.
Right.
Mm. I've
And
been
I had
there.
a gentleman who was a bishop told me how much preachers, pastors, and who service other people, how they need each other because they go through that. They remember the movie The Green Mile?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And how Michael Clark Duncan would take the particles would come, whatever was ailing you, whether it be spiritually or physically, he would take it into himself. And that's how he died at the end of the movie.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I understood that I didn't know how to take care of me. So I checked
Wow.
myself in for 28 days. I felt like dirt. Now, I mean, I was getting, people were naming their kids, babies after me. I was the prolific person. I was traveling the world, and I was in front of 20,000 people at a time, 4 or 5 times a year, in front of 1,000 people every single week for 10 years. I was in a hole I couldn't get out of.
Mm.
But that's where I grew. That was the biggest blessing for me because
Yeah.
it taught me two things. Number one, it gave me the tools on how to make myself whole and stay there. But it
Mhm.
also taught me that everyone else around me was sick too in different areas. And as my research, I realized the body is already made for addiction. It's addicted, and your heart addicted to beating.
Hmm.
If you work out, you stop. Once your body tell you I don't like that, you better go. You better move me,
Right,
Oh yeah.
right.
right?
Oh yeah.
See, the body is made for that, you know. And I begin to process things different. I begin to write programs about helping other people and helping other people. I kept anchoring myself. I don't get away
Yeah,
from it because I live it. I made it part of my life purpose, not to judge others, but to
right.
serve and help. And then I found
Mhm,
power and humility, man, because to be on the top of what people would say is a mountain, and to
mhm.
feel like what Helen Keller said, when they said, asked Helen Keller, how did it feel to be deaf and dumb? How did it feel in that state? She pointed to a plant and they said, it felt like a plant. She said, no, it felt like dirt. But what
Mm.
we didn't know is that there's energy and life even in the soil.
Wow.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
In that soil, that's where you get renewed. You
Mm.
see, you can take an apple and cut it open. You can count how many seeds are in the apple, but you can't count how many apples are in the seed.
Right,
And when I
right.
got that awakening, I said, okay, I've been a student of Think and Grow Rich. I've been a student of everyone, Dr. Dennis Kimball, Napoleon Hill, Sharon Lecter, John
Mm.
Sheehan, the Asian Choice, Rosetta did the Caribbean Choice, you name it. I've read them all. All these people are friends of mine now. Okay, I've
Mhm.
read all the books every book you can imagine. I read it. I've worked with all the top thought leaders and authors out there in
Mm.
life, and I keep learning and studying and growing. But I have this memory that I can lock in and I can quote and I can tie things together and tie bows around it and be able to tell stories magnificently. So I began
Mm.
to coach some of the great people. And when COVID happened and everybody couldn't speak, or there were no audiences, they couldn't work because everybody's working from home, and that didn't work out well for many people. Here I was in a situation of reflection, and I began to understand all the things that happened. But then going through the cancer gave me the greatest gift because before that, if you told me you had cancer, I would pray for you and I would say, well, anything I can do to help you. Now I can say, I understand. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I could
Oh,
not
man.
have done that without that.
Right.
So it allows me to serve another person. And to me, that is the greatest thing of wealth in the world because
Yeah.
those things are priceless when you could help impact somebody else's life because we seek significance.
Yes.
And what's the significance? To serve and to be okay. Now, when I was knighted, that one year, then I was elevated to a Grand Prior, which is the governor of Illinois. I was the first one with this royal order in the United States. And the
Mm.
royal order is the oldest order in the world. They just were never in America. And now I'm a baron. And I'm the baron of
Wow.
James of Cappadocia. And I am the only African American baron ever. And Constantine is the person who made Christianity the religion of Rome. And that's how it got
Wow.
to England. And I'm the first African American baron they've ever had, ever.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. And then with the work in nonprofit and serving, I found that if I'm serving, that's the greatest wealth because there's more than enough for everyone to have more than enough, and there's still going to be more than enough. So I operate with an understanding of abundance of all things, seeking to peel back the onions on everything, having fun, enjoying in life every day, and understanding the true meaning of love and how I've been happy every day for the last 25 years. I don't have bad days. I don't believe in it. It's never going to happen to me. I don't have them.
I'm with you on that. It's just amazing. A South Side kid from Chicago,
Yes,
getting
sir.
there, Baron. I mean, man, you can't make a movie that good, and that's your life. You
Yeah,
know.
well, it happened after my documentary. But when they did the documentary, they said my life has so many layers.
Yeah.
46 minutes. And I have a TV network, so it's on the TV network, jd3tv.com.
Hmm.
But they said we have to make a movie, so I knew there was a sequel coming.
Uh-huh.
But and I mean, I just want to say this thing to everybody who would listen. You know, when they wanted to do the documentary, I brought 8 of my content creators from the network with me because when I previewed it on the screen to see how it looked, you want to see it before everybody else sees it, to see what's going on. But I never watched the whole thing. I just see a glimpse of it because it's kind of hard to see yourself sometimes.
Right.
But the first thing I thought about is that There are people I care about that are in our network that have a story to tell, and I want them on that screen. I want their children to be on that screen. So the
Mhm.
first premiere, we packed the theater out with red carpet, and everybody had their own banner. I had 8 people, and then we gave our Secretary of State, because we support his foundation and 8 other charities through our foundation, and we were able to create reels, and they didn't know it about their shows and their life, and show them and call them up for the time and interview them in front of the audience. And I wanted to give that to them. And the greatest joy was Cecilia Colon, when her daughter said, "Mommy, I'll grow up. I want to be like you."
Wow. That's
See, it was worth. And here's a deep part. I never watched my own documentary until a year later,
mm, mm.
because I was thinking about everybody else.
Right. Right.
So that's just how my life kind of works. And I live in abundance. And now we're building something so special. And we have podcasts on our network. So I don't know why this podcast can't be on Hustle Faithfully. We can just put that in JD3 TV right now with no cost to you.
Oh man.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Right.
We'll definitely be in touch with you about that.
Let's
You
get that
better
message
believe
out
it. You better
Love it.
believe
Thank
it.
you so much. Thank you. You know, your story
Wow.
is absolutely amazing, from everything from the beginning to present day. It's
Mhm.
just always an honor, always a joy to hear you speak and how you pour into people. That is the big part to it. You know, you
Mhm.
could choose to do whatever you want to do, but yet your life is still centered around just everyone else.
Mhm.
And the for all of our listeners, I was actually with Dr. Dentley this weekend. He was speaking at a church down here in Atlanta, and the beautiful thing is, I even told my wife, I said, you know, Dr. Dentley's going to be there, so I'm definitely going to make it. And she looked at me and she said, why is he going to a church so small? And it's intriguing, the fact of places you've been,
Mhm.
audience you've spoken in front of, but you are still so humble that you'll go to an event where there's 50 people, 70 people, and still pour in as though it's a group of 10,000 and impact everyone that was there. I was First and foremost, I was focused on keeping my camera on you as much as possible, because I'm sure you looked over there and saw that I was recording the whole time. But I was
Mhm.
also watching people's reaction, and it's heart touching to see how much people are pulled in and captivated by your every word and your poems. And I mean, I think, and I'm not saying this just because you're here,
Yeah.
I think you are one of the smoothest speakers I have ever heard. I just love listening to you speak about
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I am that. I'm good.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Look,
talking about right
I
there.
love it. Own
I,
it.
I,
Own
I
it.
gotta
It's
say, I
yours.
have to say this. I was invited to come. I was invited to come by James Dixon, who
Yes.
is the closest thing to me I've ever seen in my life, and
Wow.
and he says the same thing about me. He saw me speaking in Annapolis, and he thought he was the only person who did what he did. And I've been trying to teach people how to do what I do, but nobody else would do it. I was trying to teach Les Brown
Right.
how to do it. Nobody else would do it until I saw him, and I knew exactly. And I'm a person that loves to help people fly. So I was invited to come
Mhm.
because it's not about how big a place is. You only got to touch, if you can touch the one.
Mm.
I was invited to come, but I'm gonna tell you something. That was the most impactful speech, probably, or time in that church.
Mhm.
I'm so thankful I came, because it impacted my life in a very profound way. Can I share
Wow.
with you why?
Please, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I spoke on Saturday. That Saturday morning, and I was the last one before they broke. They had to break.
Mhm.
That Saturday morning, I was on the front row, front of the pew, and when I sat there, the music, the feeling, the spirit, it was if honestly, it was if I was 8 years old again.
Wow.
I was a little kid when I joined Third Baptist Church in 1966 and met the first pastor I would ever know that would impact my life. I was like, I was a kid, 8 years. I'm 65. I was 8, and I sat there and basked in it. So thankful, not knowing how special it was going to be. Um, then I spoke. Okay, everybody received it. Everybody wanted to be a part of my speaker training. They all came to do that. And then the next day, I sat there and they sang a song. You were there on Sunday. Were you there Sunday?
I wasn't there. I was at
Okay.
my own church.
Okay. At Sunday, they sang a song called "So Amazing," and I
Mhm.
whispered in James' ear. I said, "That's the name of my nonprofit. Already, always, amazing,
Mhm.
amazing veterans, children, seniors, and God." Okay. So they sang that song. I said, "Oh wow!" And I knew something special was going to happen. And then before they introduced James to preach, they sang "Gratefulness." Now,
Mm. Yes.
my mother and I were so close. There's nothing we didn't talk about. She's my best friend. When I was a kid, baby, she would clean my ears. When I was a young adult, she would get the pimples out of my face on her knee. And she would do that. And, the interesting thing is that my wife is just so incredible because my wife takes care of me like my mom did. I mean,
Yeah.
like every day, our house is nothing but love. Every single day felt none.
Mm.
So I'm just so blessed. And I'm sitting there and they shout saying gratefulness. Now, when my mother passed away, she planned her own funeral. She planned her own funeral. She had done it like 7, 8 years earlier. And she kept updating it because, she didn't go nowhere.
Right.
And so when she died, she left instructions with the with the uh, I don't want to say undertaker, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Uh, with the funeral home because they were
Mhm.
friends of the family on what everyone was to do because she knew what his kid could handle. So she left one thing for me to do, and that's to pick out the final song. And I
Mm.
picked that song, "Gratefulness." Now,
Mhm.
we were so close, and for that day, I remember when she was in the casket, and then for the viewing, and then when they close it for the final time, there's a crank that I didn't know was there, and they crank you down in the casket a little bit. And when she
Mhm.
sank, I felt my heart sink, but I was okay. Okay, but it
Mm.
was there. I'm telling you the story because I never cried for 4 years. Never cried, man. Never cried. And I always said because everything was done, I still talk to her every single day.
Mhm.
I have a picture of her, and I learned that from an Oprah Winfrey show 30 years ago when she was crying, and the man said, he said, "You must miss your wife." He said, "No, you don't understand. When my wife was alive, we were together 30% of the time. We both had jobs, but now we're together 100% of the time." So my framework of how I
Mhm.
view things has always been,
Mhm.
the beauty of it. And when they sang that song "Gratefulness," the first time I cried in 4 years about my mother.
Mm.
And I'm gonna tell
Mm.
you something, man. That I told my wife, I told everybody out there that could relate. My
Yeah.
sister, my older sister said, "I knew you would eventually in the right time."
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
are so close. Our unit as a family is so incredible. We don't argue about anything. We support each other about everything. She raised
Mm.
us. It was us. I remember one
Right.
Christmas she had no money, and she gave all of us maybe 25 cents. We all held hands. We walked to Walgreens. I couldn't have been more than 10. We walked about 3 miles to Walgreens, and we
Mhm.
bought crafts and we made each other's gifts. And that's the best Christmas we ever had.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I don't know. It's just, we had one of those Charlie Brown trees with a little plant. And
Yep. Yeah. I know exactly what you're
only
talking about.
one that means anything to me. So this is who this woman was. I mean, she was loved by everyone. And
Yeah.
so for me, Jonathan, man, why did I come to that small church? Because I was supposed to. And,
Mhm.
and I was there to pour to the people, but it didn't compare to what they gave me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so thankful, brother. I'm down
Yeah.
grateful.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You live out everything you teach. But
Mhm.
one of the things that you said there was when you were obviously talking about the psychology of speaking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And you said when you are a public speaker, you are not the star of the show,
that's
that
right.
the audience is.
Right.
And it is just so refreshing to see you live that out, because I have heard so many people say, I'll come to a room no matter the size. It doesn't matter if there's 3 people, but yet when they only sell out tickets for 50 people, they cancel the event. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, you're going back against your word,
Yeah.
yet you're living it out. And that, I always look for somebody of integrity before I commit to dealing with them, without a
Mhm.
doubt.
Yeah.
And there is no question, you definitely live in the integrity that you speak of. For all of our listeners, for all of our viewers, for our viewers, you can scan the QR code that's in the upper corner. That'll
Mhm.
take you over to jamesdentley.com.
Mhm.
For all of the listeners, go to the website that I just mentioned, jamesdentley.com, and find out more about Dr. Dentley. Are there any other websites that you would like to push people to while we're on here?
Absolutely. But let me say this. It's not just that the audience is a star, that the speaker is the director and the
Mm,
audience is the star. And the director has one job to help pull, navigate, or allow that person in that audience, that actor, that person that's
mhm,
viewing them, that's under their direction,
mhm,
to excel and to get their Oscar in their life. That's the
mm,
only job. I
mhm.
only win if I can help you win. That's the only way I do it. The other side of it, Jonathan, is that I'm so blessed because I talked about network marketing that people still don't like. I've done, I've even owned a company at one point, and I've earned about tens of millions of dollars doing this stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I never had to speak a day in my life to pay a bill.
Wow.
So I speak because it's a gift that I can give. And I try to get away from it because I'm not in agreement with the way other people do things. I'm not in judgment of it because it's
Right.
their business. But it never had to be my business. And I want
Mhm.
to keep it pure because honestly, man, I really care. And I'm
Yeah.
really good at it. And I always work on getting better because there's always more. Because
Mhm.
for me, are you good enough?
Right.
And, you can measure that by how I've helped 90 people earn between $1 and $30 million. Now, it's
Mhm.
not what they've earned, it's who they are.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're out there as philanthropists making a difference, impacting more lives and lives. And to me, that's
Mhm.
so special because I can celebrate them, even if they're more successful than I am. I don't care. I
Yeah.
celebrate them. Okay. So the other websites, jd3tv.com is one.
Mhm.
We do a limitless event, and Mr. Dixon and I he's going to partner up with our organization, and we'll be doing Limitless for women. And we have another event called the Limitless Experience. We'll have two in Atlanta in
Mhm.
2024 and seven other states. We have three in Chicago every single year. And that is always limitless.com. Always,
Mhm.
we have some are virtual. December 15th, 16th, and 17th will be virtual. March will be live. In Atlanta, it'll be live, but we have the virtual ones. And what we're doing with JD3 TV is that it's very unique. It's not subscribers are called members. We got people that win cruises. I gave everybody in that church a cruise.
Wow.
You there? Were you there, Jonathan? When I spoke?
I was there Saturday, not Sunday.
I
I'm
gave
missing
everybody Saturday. I gave everybody in there a cruise, a 5 day, 4 day cruise.
Mm.
Everybody, So when the people join our network, they get a $150 Bluetooth speaker for just being a part of it, and
Mhm.
they get podcasts, TV shows, but it's really edutainment. So we anchor it with success education. Things that
Right.
make you better in your relationships, in your business, in every area of your life. We're bringing in a ton of shows. All the top people are coming. We got sports, we got movies, and all the other stuff. But we got stuff where real people can share real stories, one reel at a time. And they can't get on Netflix, but we can get them here, and we can
Right.
make their vision pristine. And we've been
Mm.
attracting people everywhere because we're building a community that can then come to live events. So now
Right.
we get a chance to know and meet. It's almost as if, what if Tom Cruise had an event and you go out there and meet Tom and you really want to meet Tom, or
Right.
Viola Davis? Well, that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
The world's too big, it doesn't make sense. We can do that. And because we built something, I built the network to help the speakers I train, the speakers I respect, from getting torn apart by other people and promoters that would charge them for everything. And
Right.
during COVID, they had no place to speak. So what's next? How do I build your celebrity brand and create another path for you to
Mhm.
build out you, because I trust you because of who you are and the integrity you possess, and how you're going to be able to take care of authentically of the people that we have put before you. So
Wow.
everybody wins, and we can expand it. So we're doing something and make it so. And the trip down part, we will exit in about 3 years. We'll exit, and mark my word, we'll exit. It'll be a multi-billion-dollar exit, and everybody in the network, every employee who is our
Mhm.
family members, and every person who has a show will all cash in because I'm giving that to everybody, and I put it in writing for every. So I built it as a part, not for money, because I
Mhm.
don't put a lid on God. You ever heard somebody say, think outside the box?
Mhm.
Right. Right.
In my world, there is no box.
And
And if
I'm
there's no
telling
box,
you.
there's only possibility. So we live in no box
Oh.
possibility. Because if we do, as we do this, we'll impact the lives of other people, but they have to be impacted, empowered, and prepared to be able to
Mhm.
serve other people. How can you help somebody else if you can't help you? How
Mm.
do you give somebody else a bigger vision of themselves if you haven't gone there first? But somebody has to be the one to do it. And I'm honored that I get to do that and work my butt after being in retirement all these years to come out and work my butt off now to serve other people. It's a joyful thing. And I'm like, boy, you must be crazy, but let's do it some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I love your servitude heart. That is so touching. I love that. I respect that.
It is so great for me because that's my heart. Jonathan knows my heart. I believe in serving people, and I've done it at times to my detriment because I so want to help people that I've given to the point of not having anything for myself or for my family at times because it's just go, 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 go. And I've had to learn how to say no. But at the same time, I've had to learn how to allow what God gifted me with to allow him to put his hands on it so that he gives it guardrails. Because a good thing can be become a bad thing if it doesn't have guardrails, you know. And I've done that at times before because I didn't know that it was supposed to be within a certain had to have structure when I utilize it and not just deploy it because I can. Because everything that you're able to do is not something you should do. And I didn't know that.
Okay, Ricardo, let me go here. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Permission to step in the room.
Please do.
First of all, you remember the story of the talents.
Yes.
Okay. If you live in a world of abundance, we don't want to ever feel as though we're chasing money and money is our God.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Now,
right.
But it doesn't say money is. It says money solveth all things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so if you're helping people from the heart, it's important that you tap into abundance. It's really simple. Just make more money. How do you make more money? Create more value. Now, number two is that sometimes when you ever given somebody some money or loan them some money and then they get mad at you?
No, yeah.
I'm talking to you. Let me tell you why that happens. It's not you. You're a mirror, and when they interact with you or think of you, you remind them of their feelings of being inadequate. So you are a reflection of pain.
Wow.
When you wanted to bless them. Okay. So sometimes it's important to, if you're going to do it with no expectations to it, but know that friend is going to go to another place because they're in another place.
Right.
So you have to keep elevating higher so you can help them, because the law of the lid says if you're a 10, they're going to be at a 6 if they're following.
Right.
So for your family's sake, and you need all the reinforcement you can do, go to a 15. Tap into the true power of God, the true vine. Tap in and be authentically who you are, even higher, because there's no lack of money in this universe. I was sleeping in a car, man.
Right.
I had a 400 credit score. And overnight, I got a letter saying you are pre-approved. I got 8 American Express Platinums.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a Capital One. I gotta get a Capital One.
Wow.
I got 8. And look, I'm trying to get away from my letter to give me a black card.
Right. Right.
So my point being that I come from nothing, but I still help and serve, but I help my charities.
Yeah.
Because every person I've given money to or loan money to, it's the same thing, but I understood it from the beginning, so I'm okay with that because it doesn't matter how you feel about me. I'm going to love you if I can love you across the street because I don't require you here.
Right.
Because I require me to be here.
Mm-hmm.
See? So the main thing is that when you can get that calmness and knowing, and I can tell you right now, I wrote a book. My last book was on frequency. Tell you right now, man, there's bigger things for you to do for your family. I can feel it right through this screen.
Yeah.
Watching you. There's bigger things that both of you gentlemen can do. And as iron sharpens iron, you can sharpen each other even to you're already good together. I want to challenge you to go higher because we need you. We need your work. So if you come into our space, man, we're going to collaborate. We're going to figure it out, have some fun. And we're going to get this thing done because your wife deserves it. Your kids deserve it. Your mama deserves it because who brought you here? Well, both of y'all. Both of you. And if you do that, just imagine the impact you make in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That everything you just said is the very thing that not just the people that are listening need, but I know I personally need. You know, they inspired to speak. I know that's one of those things that you do, and I think it's total life changes.
Yeah, totallifechanges.com is my vehicle. We do extremely well. I help people make money, but that's how I restore my health, man. We got some stuff that is, whew. Yeah. But inspiredtospeak.com is my speaker program. Yeah.
And so I brought those up because, you know I like to think of myself as fertile ground and looking to be in front of the right gardener to till the soil and sow the seed.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you do. You sow in fertile ground, and if the ground isn't fertile when you show up, you're willing to do the work to till the soil in order to plant the seed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 Because see, it's you see, if you do what's hard, you have an easy life.
Mm-hmm.
Do what's easy, you have a hard life.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do what's hard, see, when you practice harder than when you play, when
Yeah,
game time shows up, when it's time to perform, it's like breathing. There is no
absolutely.
stress. There are
Mhm.
no bad days, gentlemen. It's just a day.
Right, right.
And you figure it out. And if you ever heard somebody say, if I'd have known when I was a kid what I know today,
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
well, find a kid and tell them.
Right. Man, that is so
Find
right.
a kid and tell them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true. So yeah, so just about having a bigger dream. And there's a movie called Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I took my son to see it when he was 5. He's 26. And I was really tired, but I promised him I'd take him to the movie. So we went. It was 3D. So I said, okay, I'll put these green and red glasses on and go to sleep. He won't know. He's 5. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't go to sleep because I'm listening to Lava Girl. And she said, when the chips are down, when everything is against you, when your back's against the wall, when you don't think you can breathe, all you got to do is dream down when your back's against the wall, when everything is falling apart in your life. You don't think you can take another step. All you have to do is dream a bigger dream.
Mm.
You have to follow your dreams wherever they may lead. Never get distracted by less worthy deeds. Remember to shelter them and nourish them and help them to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Let your heart hold them down deep where dreams go. You follow your dreams, you pursue them with haste. Remember and never forget that your life, the only one you get, is too precious and too fleeting to waste. So if you're faithful and loyal, then all your days through, the dreams that you follow will always come true. Create the life you want to live. Be the things that you lack in your life. Become
Mm.
them. Take ownership of that. Bless somebody else. You keep what you have when you give it away. And if you do that, and if you study, or you come and work with us in Limitless or
Mm-hmm.
inspiredspeak.com and want to become a speaker or a better communicator inside and out to your
Yes.
classroom, to your pulpit, to your family, to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you how to speak into the nervous system of another human being. I'll teach you the psychology so nobody loses, nobody walks away from you, how to create seeds and anchors, how to
Mm-hmm.
understand how the brain works. The brain is an open loop. It seeks
Right.
closure. It seeks
Mm-hmm.
what's next. How do you set it up where people learn and you plant those seeds in their subconscious?
Mm-hmm.
Because our life is driven 80% by subconscious, 15% is conscious or intentional, but
Mm-hmm.
5% is imagination. And that's where the magic happens because everything that is, once upon a time was not. It all came from the void, just like God said in the beginning when the earth was without shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
It was void, and you speak into the void and you step into it. So everything you see in the rooms you're in right now or the car you're driving as you're listening, everything you see once upon a time never existed.
Mm-hmm.
However, everything needed to create it was always here. You
Yes.
couldn't see it. So we're going to teach you how to open it up because we need your genius, and your genius is not mine. I am just the guide to help you go through. And when I go through with you, then we get greater experiences together. When I hear your story, greater experiences, and we expand. And you'll live forever by the people you bring here and the people you touch through your
Mm-hmm.
words and through your actions and through your life's purpose.
Oh man. I mean, where's the mic where I can
I
drop
know,
it?
right? Mic drop.
That was powerful.
Mics, man.
Yeah, that was
You got that
powerful.
mic, John. Gonna look at you. Whoa.
Yeah, I know we had a dummy mic somewhere, but yeah, that right there. That's how you close it out. Like we don't need to put anything on the end of that. That needs to stand on its own. Like we appreciate that. Like I got so much from what you shared, and like I said, John talked about you, but I've never met you myself. I sat across from you just now, and everything in me wanted me to jump through the screen and just sit there with a notepad and a recorder at your feet and just listen to every single word and write down everything you said and do it.
Mhm.
You know,
Hmm.
I didn't know what to do. I was captivated. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to be able to connect with you more, to be able to speak, in whatever space I'm able to, around you. I want to learn from you. It's just like This was good. This
Yeah.
is really good.
Well, let's
Thank
start
you.
by getting the podcast on JD3 TV so I can help you get that word out as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Oh, look
Yes,
at the
sir.
network. We can get on Zoom. I can walk you through it. You have your own channel. I'll show
Okay.
you how to expand that and how to expand that reach as well.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we're going to be in Atlanta with events, and you all are definitely be a part of that and featured there. And we can do some real cool stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sounds great.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
All of
for
our
that.
viewers and listeners, make sure to go to the websites that he pushed earlier, JD3 TV, look for the Limitless Experience, and jamesdentley.com.
Yes.
Until next time, remain blessed and unstoppable.
Thank you all. If you're going to hustle, remember, hustle